Thank you, everyone. Man, this is a fun conference. I like conferences that I can bring a beer up with. And it's especially, it's not really a conference. It feels more like a festival. So the organizers, the volunteers do such an amazing job. But then I realized, if this is a festival and I'm at the end, does that mean I'm like the headliner? And I hate to disappoint you guys right now, but I'm not really headliner material. So then I figured, well, what does that mean with this festival analogy? And I think I'm probably more like that DJ real late night where you probably should have gone home, but you've had one too many drinks and you're still out. So that's more me, I think. And I can tell you already, my fonts didn't load right, so my presentation's going to be all screwy, but, you guys are half in the bag, so you won't remember anyway. What I'm going to talk about is creating authentic experiences. It's really our approach to quote-unquote marketing at Ben & Jerry's. I think actually the nice part about me wrapping this up is I'm not going to tell you anything from a theory or some big strategic insight that any of the amazing presenters throughout the day haven't already. What I am going to do is show you how with one brand, one business, we're able to bring that to life and what that approach really looks like to us. So real quickly, I've been working at Ben & Jerry's for about 7 years now, agency side before that, and I have two roles. One is I get to lead the global digital marketing team, and that's a lot of fun. We're in about 30 countries around the world, and that's really about content, strategy, media. On the other side, I lead the U.S. consumer marketing team, so beyond digital, experiential, advertising, partnerships, activism. And so I get to roll up my sleeves as well as help our countries around the world bring our approach to life. So I'm going to kind of jump ahead to the Q&A here because I know I'm going to get these two questions and I want to get them out of the way. I don't want this hanging over your heads. Mint chocolate cookie, that's my favorite flavor. And it's really mean for me to put that up because I know you can't get it here in Austria. But, and it's a classic. It's been around for almost 30 years now. The other thing is, yes, Ben and Jerry are two real guys. And they're very much still alive and still involved with the company. They're really great guys, too. For better or for worse, I'm in contact with them on at least a weekly basis. And their roles now are really around being spokespeople for the brand and really on the issues that matter most to them. And they also kind of consult with the board and the CEO on just a leadership level. But, Ben is out right now stamping dollar bills all around the United States that say not to be used to bribe politicians. So we're trying to get money out of the political system in the U.S. because it really corrupts it. Jerry is really passionate about two issues right now that he's working with us on. One is to get GMOs labeled in the U.S. It's not an issue here because you guys are smart enough to label that kind of stuff. And helping really the business in the world deal with climate change and trying to get people to join the movement to actually do something about climate change. So that's what they're up to every day. And one of the things that they gave us, and this really gets to authenticity, is they grounded who we are, in the earliest days of the company. So back in 1978, the company was founded. It was one little scoop shop, downtown Burlington, Vermont. If you've never been to Vermont, it's a really beautiful place, kind of like Austria, mountains and lakes and stuff. But, and they made it through the first year, and to be honest, they couldn't believe it. They're like, oh my God, we're actually still in business. We need to do something. We need to, thank these people that made this happen. And that's how Free Cone Day was born. It was about thanking the community that, helped them for that first year. So they were promoting it. They designed a poster. The poster designer said, hey, I need a quote from each of you guys for this. And Jerry said, if it's not fun, why do it? And Ben said, businesses have a responsibility to give back to the communities from which they get their support. And right in that first year, that's the founding of who we are. We're ice cream and we're fun, but we actually want to use the power of our business to create change in the world. And so when we bring those two things to life, that's how we, become who we are. Jerry really said it best. And I'm not going to read his quote, but ultimately what it comes down to is the way that we grow our business is by connecting with people who have shared values and seek the same shared experiences that we do. And that's how we're able to really connect with people for the long term. Ultimately, this is how most people know us, right? It's our product. It's cookie dough. If I were in the States, I would show like 40 flavors, but that would just be really mean to all of you right now because you can probably only get about a dozen here. But we are so much more than ice cream. We're grounded in a mission statement. So in the late 80s, those two quotes became more of a mission, and it's a 3-part mission: to make the best ice cream in the world, the product mission, to give a fair return to our shareholders, an economic mission. We are a for-profit business. We are not a charity. But the innovative piece, the social mission, to use the power of the business operations to create progressive change in the world. So that's not about corporate social responsibility. That's not about a foundation that's going to give charity. That's about using the business itself and the business operations themselves to create change. And it all kind of comes together in this idea of linked prosperity. So as we as a business grow, everyone we touch should be growing in an equal way. So in business school, and there's a lot of students here, you're taught to look at a supply chain, and you're taught to extract profit from each step of that chain in order to make money. We look at it differently. We see each step of that chain as an opportunity to put value back into communities. So it starts with the ingredients that we actually get that make our product. So that's where we spend most of our money, way more than we could give away through charity. So if we source our ingredients responsibly in a way that adds value to communities, that's going to have way more of an impact. So take fair trade certified commodities like chocolate and vanilla and coffee. We could give charity to those communities, or we could just pay them a fair wage for what they're doing. Make sure that they're actually using those extra earnings to develop their community and make sure they're growing their products in a sustainable way. That's the power that business has. We think about it in where we live and work. So that really has to do with how we treat each other and what our company culture is. And the final piece is the communities that we sell our products in. And that's the opportunity for marketing. And so really, we're much more than ice cream, and it looks that way. So as we take that linked prosperity idea and we bring it into marketing, this is something I had made and put up outside my office. This is what I try to do every day. I don't always live up to it, but this is my goal, and the goal of the whole marketing department. It's about creating these outrageously authentic experiences, really connecting with people and building relationships with them, and telling our story in compelling and relevant ways. But we have to do it in a disciplined way like anyone else, through our people, with a defined process, and with real consideration around where we're connecting, the place. Here's how it looks as a nerdy chart an MBA may like. So this is what I'm going to take you guys through quickly with some examples. So starting with authentic experiences. Authenticity is not something that can be manufactured or bought. Really, what you have to do is create an environment where it can spontaneously be born, and then you need to nurture it, just like you do with any friendship, any relationship that you have. For us, a lot of our authenticity comes from our consistency. Ben and Jerry, back in the late 80s, when they were moving national in the U.S., they weren't buying TV ads. They converted an old RV to a scoop truck and drove around the country giving people ice cream. Back in the mid-'80s, putting candy bars and swirls and having super dense, rich ice cream just wasn't something that people did. And paying $5 for it definitely wasn't something they did. But we knew once you tried it, you were going to buy it. And the other thing that we've always done is really stood up for what our values are and have been outspoken and used actually the power of our marketing to advocate for those issues. And we're doing that today, although obviously it's evolved a lot in terms of actually some of the tactics and how it happens. So a little bit about our approach to authenticity. The first thing is we think about our fans first. We have a kind of internal tactic or saying that we use that we want to love our fans more than they love us. When your fans are getting tattoos of Ben & Jerry's on their leg, that's a pretty high bar. But it gives us something to aim for, and in everything we're creating, that's really where we start. We've really moved to a place where we are publishers, we're storytellers, and we still do campaigns, but ultimately, the campaign is such a small part of our mix these days. And if you think about authentic relationships you have with another person, it's not about campaigns. It's about ongoing connection and experiences with them. So that's kind of our approach there. You have to take a stand, and you have to be outspoken about it. People need to know who you are if you're going to be authentic. So get out there and talk about it. If you want to be loved, there's probably a couple people out there that may need to hate you. We don't provoke that, but at the same time, we don't let it stand in our way. It's ice cream. Let's have some fun. We really try to surprise our fans. We try to bring humor and joy and a little irreverence into their lives. And we really have to think, and this is, as we're growing, this is one of the things we're really thinking about. How do we really know a local community? And how do we make sure we're providing value for them? Graz is probably, I know, is very different than Munich or Salzburg, let alone Berlin or New York, or Singapore or Tokyo. So we have to really try to embed ourselves in those communities to understand them, to be able to connect. And lastly is we got to try some things. We have to experiment. We're doing a little partnership with a New Belgium brewery, which is another values-led business out of Colorado. It's a little thing. It's a test, but I think it's going to be fun. I know it's delicious because I've tried it. But experimentation also means failure, as you've heard 100 times today. In 2010, we were one of the first companies to have markerless augmented reality. So if you put your phone over a pint of Ben & Jerry's, out of your phone comes the fair trade cacao farm or cooperative that it was grown in. No one did that. And what kind of value did that really provide for people? But it was worth a test, we learned. Connecting with people. So this is really about thinking about what matters to them, who we are, and then how we can use that to connect. Instagram has been a really great community for us. And that's how we think about it, as a community. And in the early days, our growth was through the roof. Our engagement still is through the roof. And people are post about 500 photos of Ben & Jerry's a day. And we were blown away, and we had to think about how can we actually give back to this community? Because they're giving a lot to us. How can we love them more than they love us? So what we decided to do, first we had to think about what does this community value? Well, in Instagram's case, at the time there was no video, it was about amazing photography and wanting to be recognized for that amazing photography. So what we did is we created one-off ads just for one person for their amazing photo. We asked people to share a photo with the hashtag #CaptureEuphoria, and we got about 14,000 people, way more than we expected. We created about 40 of these one-off custom ads right in these people's neighborhoods, basically, all around the world. And the response was overwhelming. They were stoked. They felt the love. And that was ultimately the goal, was really to connect with people and show them the love. And you can see there's not a lot of ice cream, almost none, actually. Clearly branded Ben & Jerry's, but it's really about thanking that user and really highlighting their photography. Another example is that old RV that's still up in Vermont right now. Actually, no, this is the second one. The first one burned down in Ohio. That's a story for another day. But so this is what we were doing. nowadays, especially here in Germany and Austria and Switzerland, the tours that we do are real events. I don't know how many people, if anyone went to the one last July here in Graz, but I think there was like 3,000 people there, which is, a lot when you're just showing up and giving people ice cream. But we use those as opportunities. In the US right now, we're running a very similar tour, but we took our goal really is to get people to join the movement, to do something about climate change, to put pressure on businesses and government to really find some solutions at the climate conference this December in Paris. So what we're going to do, and we are doing, we're driving around the country, we're asking people to sign up to join the movement, and we're giving out ice cream. But what we wanted to do was find a symbol of this future. Solving climate change doesn't mean we all have to grow our own food and take the bus. Frankly, it can mean we're all driving around in Teslas. The innovation can be one of the main things that solves this. So we ripped out the backseat of a Tesla and put 4 freezers in it, and we're driving it around the US for 6 months. All right, moving on to storytelling. I 100% agree with Doug that we need to be focused and pick things. And I know he wasn't saying the contrary. What we can't be is one single thing that is something like a product attribute. To be authentic, we need to be dynamic. We need to be multi-layered. But at the same time, we can't be scattered and all over the place. So for us, we really organize our storytelling, our content, our engagement into these 4 pillars that really kind of give the full dimension of who we are. Fun, flavors, our foundation, which is really our heritage and our culture, and F and values, because we really wanted the F alliteration. Oftentimes, that storytelling can come to light with lightweight social content. It doesn't always have to be super in-depth. But oftentimes, we need to tell a deep story and about things that matter. So one of the things that Ben & Jerry's has advocated for decades is social justice and equality broadly, marriage equality for same-sex couples specifically. In 1989, Ben & Jerry's was one of the first Vermont companies to offer insurance, basically, for domestic partners of same-sex couples. This was revolutionary at the time. But again, if you think about it, our authenticity in this space comes from our consistency. In 2009, we really, as the marriage equality movement began to build, we really started to see how can we join this movement? How can we help the movement with the power of our business? And so for us, our role in advocacy, in whether it's climate change or labeling GMOs, getting money out of politics or marriage equality, is let's bring the ice cream, let's bring the humor, let's let the way into these very important but often very serious and complicated issues. Let's let the way in be fun. And so, we've basically done 4 or 5 flavor renames to support marriage equality around the world. And in 2009, and this is just an example of what it means for us to be a publisher as it comes to advocacy. This is what our announcement of renaming Chubby Hubby to Hubby Hubby in honor of Vermont legalizing same-sex marriage. And this actually, infancy of Facebook for brands, but PR-wise, it went through the roof. Last quarter, this is more what it looked like. There was actually supposed to be a really cool animation that didn't happen. It was about 40 different articles, telling people, making them aware, getting them to take action, getting them to call their senators and our congressmen, politicians, etc. And, it's working. Just last week, the Supreme Court in the U.S. was hearing a case that may actually legalize it in the U.S. And we put the full court press on with all of our channels. Right now in Ireland, we're running a campaign to help. There's a national referendum on May 22nd on this issue. So we're trying to really, again, make this issue fun, make it engaging for people to join. And so far, it's going well. All right, I got probably a minute here. I'm going to go through this. This is the good news. It's fast. Your people have to live and breathe this shit, man. If they don't, it's never going to work. So when we're out at a protest, it's us. You know, it's people who live and breathe this, and it's not some agency. And if it is, it's an agency that we've really embedded with us. You still need to be disciplined as a marketer, right? So especially as we scale this globally, we have documents that really help to show people this is how we sound, this is what we look like, this is what we talk about. You know, photography is a great example. It's like we're not some studio brand. It's really more about a kind of photo you would see shared by your friends, but done well. And the last piece is a real consideration of your touch points, where you're connecting with people. For us, that's never been a commercial or mass media, but we do some of that. It's about walking into a store or pop culture or an event or your newsfeed. That's where we connect. So I'll end it with one example of this all coming together. 2 years ago in Colorado, they legalized marijuana. And on the day that they legalized marijuana, we sent out this tweet. Notice there's nothing in there that says anything about marijuana, but trust me, we were understanding the community, we were having some fun, we were putting our fans first, and people get it, and it resonates with them. So I'll end on that. I think the really important thing for you guys to know is being authentic is being true to who you are. You need to know who you are as a brand. And the really, really cool thing is changing the world for the better can be really fun. And the more businesses that get on board, the more amazing the world will be. So thank you guys. Last presentation, you guys made it through. Cheers.